What's going on? Thomas Phillips here, co-founder at DTC SEO Agency. In this video, we're going to be running through BREZ or drinkbreeze.com. It's actually spelt BREZ, B-R-E-Z, but apparently it's pronounced BREZ. Anyway, we're going to be going through these guys' website. They are missing out on about $1.85 million of profit per year directly from SEO. And we'll deep dive in on that exactly why, how, what they can do to improve, and all the good stuff in between. So let me make myself a little bit smaller on here. So if you didn't already know what this company is, they basically sell like THC infused canned CPG type product drinks. Okay, so essentially that is exactly what you're buying. If we go through the website very quick, this is super important as one of the first things that I like to look at from an SEO point of view, because I want to see where are they linking to specifically. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this up so you can see the corner. So all of these are linking directly to products, as you can see directly below me down here. These are linking directly to products. We've got a bundle and save, gift card, shop all, bundle and save, store locator. And if we go down to the footer, lab certified even. Okay. So one of the first things that I see from here is that there's not many collection pages that they're linking directly out to. Now, I've already done my research into this brand, and I know that they do have collection pages. But basically, when you have collection pages that are not obviously internally linked from this point of view, they can basically sit as orphan pages. And Google finds it very difficult to try and find and access those particular pages, and it will usually demote those pages, and it'll be harder to actually rank those collection pages. And usually the higher search volume of keywords would be attached to a collection page. We'll deep dive into this in a sec, and then we can look at it from there. Okay, so looking inside of trusty Ahrefs, this is where we do a lot of our SEO research, our keyword research, our backlinks, like looking at what is the power of the site, what is the visibility right now, like where is everything right now. Okay, so let's just have a quick look. So drinkbreeze.com. So we can see decent number of AI citations inside of Google. These numbers are really low, which is very surprising. Inside of ChatGPT, there's only 8 citations it's picking up on. Now, interestingly, for this brand and for this particular niche, when you go in and you search like what is the best THC infused drinks that's inside a can or whatever, ChatGPT refuses to give you a answer or actually recommend a set of products, presumably based off of the niche, it being THC. I don't know, they don't want to take a stance on that, so we're better off just avoiding. So that's a really interesting part of this particular niche, and there's a massive opportunity of going after the keywords around like alternatives to alcohol and different things like that. So creating content around that, getting in big publications talking about that, and then how BREZ would combats that and telling the brand story behind it. That's a massive opportunity specifically for getting around the ChatGPT gray area where it refuses to do stuff. As we can see on here, the DR, the domain rating, is 62. This is pretty damn high for an e-commerce brand off the bat, which is excellent to see. What else are we looking at on here? Okay, so number of organic keywords. Now this is very typical with a paid social brand, or where the brands that are paid centric. Okay, meaning they do a lot of paid advertising, a lot of brand awareness around the brand. Usually what happens is their organic traffic is inflated, and the number of keywords that they're actually ranking for is very little. Okay, so let's find this out then on here. So if I click into here, yeah, we can basically see that BREZ drink, 40,000 searches, 23,000 searches, and then it really tails off from there. So what we're really interested in from an SEO and a GEO point of view is we want to be ranking for all of these other keywords. Like we don't care about the branded, because the brand is always going to rank first, right? It's the brand website at the end of the day. That's why there's a big old argument about Google ads and bidding on your own branded terms, right? We've had clients where they've turned off their ads, looked at it for 2 weeks, and they've gone, our conversion rate has not changed, but now we've made an additional 10 grand on the bottom line because we're not spending that on branded search, because you're always going to rank organically first for your own products because you are the brand. Google understands that. If you are a developed brand, this is not the case for brand new brands. I just want to put that out there. Okay, so looking at this then, basically what we want to look at is any keyword that has commercial or transactional intent that is not a branded search term. Okay, so I've just highlighted a few on here. And already, like this one on here, THC drinks, there is massive, massive potential for like this keyword on its own. So we can see they're currently in position 4. Like if they could move up to position 1, you can like 4 to 5x your traffic just off of this keyword, which is a very high intent at the same time. And I actually Googled this yesterday. I was at a restaurant, they had THC infused drinks. I wanted to learn more. Great, I Googled this, and this brand didn't come up, even though I'm cognizant of the brand. So it's interesting that it's showing up on there, potentially mobile. It's pushing everything down a lot more. Anyway, going down here, again, we can see THC infused seltzers, 9th, 4th, 7th for each of these. So a lot of opportunity on these bigger keywords as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, look, we can see on here as well, THC drinks, 17,000 searches per month, 18th on Google. So what we basically focus on when we build out our first 1 year SEO and GEO strategy is we're really focused on which transactional and commercial intent keywords are within striking distance. So around middle of the first page, middle of the second page, those are the keywords we want to focus on first, because those are the ones we can get really quick jumps on. And what I'm talking about there is like 2 to 4 weeks, jumping those keywords up to like top 3 placements, right? And really that's where you get a significant amount of traffic up in those top places. So anyway, I've been through a bunch of these different pages, and yeah, let me just show you the calculations quick on here. Right, so basically what we've done is looked at the average order value, looked at the potential conversion rate, although it's not posted up online. A lot of this information was actually posted by the co-founders on X, so it was available data. This was from 2024, so I expect these numbers to have gone up since they're doing a lot of testing with things on here. So we can see $90 average order value, around 3% convert, 17% monthly subscriber churn, around 6 months is the subscriber lifespan, which is pretty damn good. $529 LTV, which is very, very, very strong. So when we pull all of these numbers together and we basically look at what are they ranking for right now, like essentially what is their baseline, right? We're looking at around $850,000 of revenue. Now, looking at the profit, which is specifically what we're interested in, I reckon they're at around 70%. I actually think it's going to be higher than this, but we're being conservative here. So around $604,000 on this right now from here. Let me just pull into these numbers quick. All right, cool. And then if they were first for all of these keywords, basically what we've done is we've looked at all of the different keywords that they're ranking for, like really the main ones that we would want to rank for, removing out any BREZ related branded terms, looking at the exact positions, the search volume, the current traffic, how much traffic they would get if they were number 1, the traffic gap between that, and then the actual annual gap, like the lifetime value of a customer for those specific keywords together. So the potential is around 3.5 mil of annual revenue directly coming from organic search. When we look at the gap, it's about 2.6 mil of revenue that could come from closing that gap up to that number 1 spot for these keywords, which equals about 1.85 mil of annual profit directly to the bottom line. And the spend to achieve this, I would not expect to be spending more than 10 grand a month on SEO to get to that number, right? Consistently over a 12-month period. So who would you pay $120,000, right, in spend to get 1.85 mil in profit? Abso-fucking-lutely. So let's see exactly what could they do to rank first for all of these different keywords. So let's just take this one as an example, Delta 9 drinks. This is a really, really excellent keyword that we have on here. And one thing that I love that they've actually done already, and this is one thing that we highly, highly recommend, is to split out a collection page if it is very, very specific to a certain keyword. Okay, so as we can see on here, like Delta 9 is potentially, by the looks of things, seen as a different keyword to THC infused seltzers, as an example. So what they've done is they basically created a dedicated collection page around this, which is perfect. Our exact recommendation that we'd want to do with this. But when we click on the SERP, and then we can basically see the additional data. I'll run through this quick on here. So you can see the top 10 websites ranking inside of Google. We can see their URL. We can see their SEO title in here as well. We can see some other information. Word count, which we'll come back to, very important. DR, again, domain rating. 62 is very, very high for a e-commerce brand, especially of this size. The URL rating, essentially how powerful is this specific URL. Another interesting point, this is relatively low, which is an interesting one. And then we look at the number of referring domains that come into this specific page, which is at 45, which is pretty high, right? Considering the guys above them has 0, 32, and 2, and only a DR of 16, which is very, very, very interesting. So when I was looking at this page overall, let's just load it up quick so I can show you what it looks like. This is a really well done page, right? We can see on here, Delta 9 drinks. This fits in with the exact SEO title that we would expect. If I click into our little detail thing on here, we can see that the SEO title, yeah, I would say is somewhat correct on here. The only thing is that they're repeating Delta 9 twice, which is an interesting one. But yeah, we can see that there's one H1 on the page, which is correct. A lot of the time we see that Shopify stores, for some reason, the theme seems to mess it up and they have two H1s. Or someone has just not styled it correctly and all of them are H1s. That can be detrimental to ranking. Just very, very small technical things like this that we really, really dive in deep on to get fixed and ensure that Google can really open up and view the page correctly. So as we can see on here, they have the different drinks with things, which is great. Then it kind of comes down into another section on here. And then each of these are actually drop downs with a lot of content in overall, right? Then it goes into some more FAQs. So in terms of actual content for a collection page, this is a lot, like a serious amount of content, a lot more than you would usually see, right? We can see on here that they have 3,300 words. And then if we look at the other websites on the first page that are ranking above them, 2,200, 800, less than 500, and then 1,500, right? And they're ranking a homepage, which is why they have a lot more referring domains because of how this domain is structured. It's a partial match domain, meaning they have Delta in there, right? And obviously the whole thing is about Delta 9 drinks, and you can see that inside of the keyword. So, of course, they're going to rank a lot better because of that. But it's really, really interesting to see. So one of the first things that I would do is I would split test removing a bunch of this content out and then re-optimizing what is already there, specifically for Delta 9 drinks, Delta 9 infused drinks, all of that cluster of keywords that this page should be ranking. I have a feeling that because there's so much content, and when reading it as well, it seemed like it was on more of the side of BREZ as opposed to Delta 9. Which is interesting. So it might be under optimized for this particular keyword, okay, which is why this is on there. But the really interesting part is that they have 45 referring domains going directly to this page. They have the highest DR out of the top 10 essentially, but they're ranked 7th. So that tells me that it's something else other than the actual power coming to page, and we can see that by the URL, by the word count. Then the next interesting thing is the actual URL rank. Okay, how much power is going directly to this URL? And we can see this is only at a 4, and these guys are at 9, 10, and 10. So again, that's another indication that this page is not getting power from the rest of the website. And that's very, very clear. When we come across to like the home page as an example, I can't see this page unless it's like hidden somewhere, which I don't think it is. Oops, this isn't the home page. I can't see this page actually linking out directly to that collection page. And it makes a lot of sense, right? That's why the power for that page is relatively low. If the other pages on the website aren't internally linking to that page, the power from those other pages can't access that page, which is why it's called an orphan page. It's just on its own. And also, the other point is that they have a lot of referring domains going to this page. So they have a lot of essentially backlinks that are coming in. Now, we'd always rather look at the number of referring domains as opposed to the number of backlinks. Because as you can see on here, these guys have 855 referring domains and 42,000 backlinks. So we don't want to be looking at backlinks because then we're like, oh, well, potentially we need 42,000, right? Which is nuts. The main reason for this is basically, let's say you had one website that had 1 million pages in their entire website. And if you had a link to your website in their footer, the footer usually goes across every single one of those 1 million pages. That means you have one referring domain and 1 million backlinks, which is why we don't look at backlinks as a number. We look at referring domains. Just a side note. Okay, so there's two reasons why this would be low. Number one is that it's an orphan page, meaning it's not properly linked throughout the website. My recommendation with this would be to link it into the footer if they weren't interested in putting it into the main navigation, which I totally understand. Not necessarily a need for it, and really thought about the path that the customer would go with things. But let's open this up and look at the referring domains on here. Okay, so the first thing that jumps out to me right away is, okay, well, there's a ton of spam links going directly to this page, but a lot of these bigger D websites up here, the traffic is very, very low, right? If we look at this, DR38, 4,000, DR41, 1,700, DR44, 0, less than 1,000, less than 1,000, 2,000, less than 1,000, etc., etc. There's only a few that actually have over 10,000 in traffic. So again, this is another telltale sign of why that URL rank and power going directly to this page is relatively low. Even though they do have quite a high number of referring domains, the actual quality of those referring domains is very low, meaning there's not a whole lot of power that's actually being sent to this page. So again, this is a classic thing in SEO where SEO agencies love to just pump up the number and go, yeah, we got you 20 links. But what is the quality of those links? It's like saying, hey, I bought 20 cars, right? But they all might be, I don't know, little Honda Civics that cost $2,000 versus being $1 million Ferraris, right? There's a big difference when it comes to link building overall. And really what we do and what we want is the cream of the crop. We want the absolute best links that we can get for our cash. And really that's where the SEO spend comes from. It goes directly into link building because you have to acquire these links to get the best of the best. Okay, so basically making a bunch of improvements on this page. I'd be testing to see, removing out a bunch of content on that particular page to see, does Google respond better to that? It thinks it's more of a collection page versus just like a big 3,300 word article, when a collection page should be about 500 to 1,000 words and the rest made up of products. That is the ideal, and that's what we've seen rank best. Next thing I would do is also be looking to get a lot higher quality referring domains going directly to this page. And I'd also be looking at disavowing these spammier links with things as well, because we don't want to make it so that the anchor text profile gets too targeted to the point where you're basically waving a flag to Google and saying, hey, I want to rank for Delta 9 drinks. We don't want that to happen. Okay, so those are a few different things that we'd highly recommend. Me going through, we look at the annual traffic gap on these keywords as well in terms of like these specific keywords / niches. There is a bunch of search volume that can come from like THC drinks, THC seltzer, Delta 9, not so much, but I'm sure that's going to be growing over time when more people understand what Delta 9 is. CBD drinks, again, is another one. Alcohol alternatives, as we mentioned, I think is a really, really good way of getting into ChatGPT and having people discover the product through that loop, you know, and then another one on here as well. So massive amount of annual profit, because I know that you guys mainly are paid centric. Okay, so like 2.6 mil, whatever, doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're looking at the actual profit margin on this, that's where it starts to become really interesting, because you're not paying 40, 50, 60, whatever dollars for your CAC. You're paying like $5 or less because of the amount of SEO spend. You know, if you're capping it out at 10 grand a month and you're making 1.8 mil profit over the course of a year, spending 120, making 1.8, it's a pretty freaking good ROI. So anyway, that I would say is a few of the main points with BREZ. Those are really some areas that they can focus on and build out. If this sounds interesting and you want something similar done on your website, head over to dtcseoagency.com. We only take on e-commerce brands that are 7, 8, or 9 figures in size. Please keep that in mind. Hop on a discovery call with us. We'll run through, grab all the metrics and the data, run through everything that we're going to do next. And then we basically build out a full-blown strategy from an SEO and a GEO point of view. We're deep diving into every single keyword. We're doing all the keyword research. We're looking at the current website. What are you missing out on? What are the opportunities? What are the biggest and biggest ROI movers in that first 90 days? We really want to show, hey, SEO freaking works, right? We also have a triple whale integrated dashboard where we have SEO KPIs and GEO KPIs. We also work with Northbeam as well if you're on Northbeam, and we can then build out custom dashboards around that, really so that we can show the ROI around SEO directly and properly attribute it as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, click in the links below, and then we can build this out and go from there. Cool. Thank you so much for watching.